morning sandwich and Anderson's workshop. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. Today, I'll be joined by Batty. My son asked me to put Batty in my video, so everyone say hi to Batty. In any case, today we're going to be reviewing Curious Tides by Pascal Lassalle. I think I'm saying her name right. I hope I am, in any case. This is like a book I really should have reviewed ages ago because it was one of the Barnes & Noble book club picks for last year. And it's actually the young adult pick for Barnes & Noble this month, or in October. And it has beautiful, gorgeous sprayed edges. I just finished reading book 2, which is why I'm like, oh my god, I have to review book 2 soon. Because the publisher was kind enough to give me an arc of that, but I can't review book 2 without reviewing book 1, so here we are. I have a couple misgivings about the first book. It was a little slow. So I did like the lunar magic aspect of the story. I liked the atmosphere. I liked the dark academia gothic feel to it. But I think really my biggest hindrance is it felt long. Like it didn't feel dragged out, but it felt long. There is a lot of world building because she is establishing a really unique magic system here that it's one that I've never read before, so to me it was really unique and it stands out because of that. But for the pacing, it just felt a little dragged out, unfortunately. And that's really my biggest hindrance with this novel, like that pacing feeling. Again, not dragged out, that's the wrong word. It felt very long and it felt a little hard to follow at times as well. And I think part of that is I love her prose. So this is like a mixed bag for me, this book. I loved her prose. I think her storytelling, especially when she's telling the story of the drowned gods, which break up the story, it's beautifully written, you know, that prose. And it's really kind of fairy tale-esque, more like a fable. She's telling a story within a story in order to break up the story. And it worked and it didn't work. She did put them in specific spots that worked with the direction she was going with the overall story following Emery and Baz. And I'll talk a little bit about them in a couple minutes. But I think because the prose for both of them was a little different, that's probably what made it feel long. And another reason for me why it was a little hard to follow at times, because the story of the Drowned Gods was a little convoluted at times. And when you add the convolutedness with her kind of very beautiful prose and it was kind of lyrical, it was a little hard to follow. But it also seemed like two different stories, but you could tell that they were written by the same person. Pacing wise, you know, it was just the pacing that was a little off for me, because you have this one story that is one pace and then you're going to the main story that seems to be a different pace, and the feel is the same for both, but when you're reading it, it doesn't feel the same. And I think that's part of why it felt really like long to me and drawn out. I will say this for book 2 though, I did not feel that way. So I'm gonna try to get my review for book 2 up soon. But it just felt really long. And I think another reason why is because the character development wasn't there either. I liked Baz as a character, and I think he does a lot more character growth and character development than Emery does. Emery's just kind of there. She's your main female protagonist. And I didn't necessarily always like her. You know, she's gone through a lot. She lost her best friend. But now she's kind of using Baz and his knowledge of being an Eclipseborn to further her own gains, because she's trying to solve the mystery of what happened to her friend Romy, who just also happens to be Baz's sister. So she's using Baz's feelings for her to her advantage. And I don't really like that. I didn't really like that about her. And her character development, it wasn't always there. She was pretty much kind of the same from beginning to end. I will say, those last 2 chapters, you know, those that have her perspective, that's where you see pretty much the most growth. Oh, I feel a sneeze coming on. That's where I felt the most growth for her. But otherwise, it just wasn't there for the most part. I think Baz is the one who has to go on a deeper journey. And for me, I quite liked Baz. And I don't think Emery's good enough for him at all. She's all in love with Kieran. And he's also using her. And it's a lot of, so it's kind of a love triangle, kind of not a love triangle, because she discovers, like, maybe she does have feelings for Baz. She doesn't really know. She's very confused. But she's using him to her advantage. She's using him. And she knows she's using him. And she knows it doesn't really make her a good person, but she does it anyway. And I'm just like, well, that's kind of shitty of you. He was like your childhood friend. You kind of dropped him. And then now you're undropping him just to suit your own gains. I mean, I didn't really like that for her characterization. It's very hard to relate to her. It was very hard to sympathize with her. It was very hard to have some sort of empathy with her. I will say she made the story a little interesting because there are a lot of plot twists involving her. But for the most part, Emery was not my favorite character. I much preferred Baz and Kai and Vera. You know, these are all the other characters that I preferred over her. I even thought Kieran was a little bit more of an interesting character, because Emery's personality, she just really falls flat. And I think that's another reason why the story felt really drawn out to me. But I liked it. I was very intrigued to read book 2, so I'm going to try to review that really, really soon. But, you know, for the most part, it was okay. It was okay. And, you know, the paperback version is absolutely gorgeous. And I will say, it is worth it to pick up this book so that you can read book 2. Because book 2 is, whew, let me just say that. But yeah, I mean, it's a mixed bag for me. I think Lascelles' writing style is really powerful. I think it's very lyrical. I think it's very atmospheric. And I do think, you know, even though it was a little confusing at times, I do think her storytelling is quite beautiful. Honestly, just like her word choice and how it just kind of flows and moves. It was kind of beautiful to me, but it was a little confusing to follow at times, just this story. But, you know, that's just a me thing, maybe. In any case, I think I'd have to give this book 3.75 stars out of 5. Almost to 4, just not quite there. So yeah, 3.75 out of 5 stars. If you want to check it out yourself, I will, of course, include details in the description. On that note, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all your book-loving friends. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, happy reading.